to say.
All right, very cool.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Develop. I'm Chris Woolley, your host for today. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. Let me tell you a little bit about what Let's Develop is. So we bring in awesome photographers and they share information with us in a 1-hour webinar format. I want to give a shout out to American Color Imaging for helping put this on. So now, if this is your first time kind of tuning in, we've got a new episode every other week. You can catch the lineup and register for future episodes at acilab.com/lets-develop. If you happen to miss last week's episode, The Art of Storytelling with Christy Steves, the replay is live and you can catch that on ACI's website. So be sure to check that one out. All right, Jeff. So we can actually see you right now, and I'm going to get a little bit of a bio. For those of you that don't know who Jeff Johnson is, you're in for a treat. We're looking at the soul of the landscape, and Jeff is a landscape photographer and instructor, and holy cow, is he talented. He's a master photographer, a craftsman, CPP, a fellow in Colorado, an artist, educator, and self-proclaimed chief instigator, I believe. He's been in the industry over 45 years, shares information, techniques, ideas, just kind of gets you pumped up when it comes to doing landscapes and makes it very, very approachable. I first met Jeff when he came to Washington State and put on a program for us during the Olympic Peninsula. And holy cow, it was amazing. Just his way of presenting information and making it friendly and fun and encouraging to go there. Jeff is an absolutely fantastic human being, and I'm very excited for him to share information with us today when it comes to capturing the soul of the landscape. So what have you got for us, Jeff?
Hi, guys. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that wonderful welcome. If there's a lot of folks out there, a lot of my friends, they're probably laughing and arguing with you, but that's okay. It's all right. We stand to do what we do. So thank you so much to you and to ACI for allowing me this chance just to visit with you and share with you all my passion. Just real quickly, I've been in the business for 45 years. I grew up in the family studio in Illinois. I've photographed, you name it, everything from babies and brides, high school seniors, to car accidents, which kind of brides and car accidents, kind of the same realm there.
I think that's a train wreck, isn't it?
No. Yeah, it is train wreck, exactly. I worked for Sears for a little while, did catalog work. I mean, I've just done everything. And the landscape has been such an amazing, I don't know how you want to put it, but when mountains don't talk back, it's great. After 1,500 weddings and I don't know how many thousands of high school seniors, I'm thrilled to sit up in Rocky Mountain National Park and stare at the clouds and not do anything for a while. So that's kind of what happened. And then somewhere along the way, my portrait friends started wanting to come with me and learn about, well, what are you doing? This sounds kind of cool. And then I had my dear friend Heather said, you ought to, teach this and do some road trips. So that's where the name came from. Images from the soul kind of thing. So it's Soul Road Trips is where we ended up going with that. And I'm leading these expeditions all over Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, California, and Washington, you name it. We go to Alaska. Next year, we'll be going even to the Faroe Islands and Norway. So I hope Soul Road Trips.
So much fun.
Hope you guys can follow sometime, because it is. And the whole idea really was to get that community of photographers together in a way other than just a business meeting, and to just totally experiment and do some different things. Again, mostly what we're doing is the landscape and fine art, but I've had tremendous amount of portrait photographers join me and then go back home and call me and say, gosh, I look at my work in such a different way. So that's kind of cool for me. I'm just sharing what I love. I've had the great opportunity growing up in the business. My dad shared, if he didn't know of an answer, he knew somebody who did. I have a lot of dear friends out there in the industry who know me and have some of the same stories. So all I'm trying to do is just create that opportunity to go have, matter of fact, the moniker, if you will, of the Soul Road Trips is photographic expeditions and fun. And that's really what it's all about. And the tagline is becoming, it's more better. So that's kind of, make sure we have new t-shirts being printed as we speak with that logo on there. So watch for those. Anyways, so Chris has been just wonderful enough to ask me to share tonight with you. And those of you who know me, I kind of just roll on and ramble on. So I'll try and keep words separate so you can understand them. But I'm going to share with you just a quick gallery of some of my favorite images. And then I'm going to go into this program I've really kind of put together, relatively new. It's a combination of other programs, but just kind of my philosophies on how I shoot and how you can prepare yourself to really not just photograph the landscape, but to also be more in tune with your clients or whatever it is you're photographing. So allow me to share that all with you tonight. Let's just start with, and also I'll just mention too that we have thank you for coming out tonight, everybody. I'm thrilled to have you all here. In the chat here, we got a link, and then Chris is going to share with you a link to a document that I've created. It's really cool. It's kind of the ultimate gear collection that you should bring with you on trips and such. So he'll explain that, but you'll just go to my website and give me an email. I just put it into chat. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So just go there, just give me your email, and then you'll get the link for this document. And it's pretty intensive. So I hope you enjoy that.
It's a hefty document, not a quick thing, huh?
Yeah. That's about 10 pages, but it's good stuff. And there's a lot of photographs in there to inspire you as well. So let me just start by, I want to share with you some of my photographs that I've done over time here. And let me just populate the screen here. Is that good? You can see that okay?
We can see it. Holy cow.
Cool. So let me just share with you some of my favorites. As most of you know who know me, black and white is absolutely my passion. So this gallery is black and white. Of course, this is the Tetons. Then we go out to the coast, and there's just one of my favorite views back to Colorado, into the Dallas Divide. Again, I love water. I love the creeks and the waterfalls and such. This was out in Olympic National Park, into New Mexico, near Dennis Chamberlain's neighborhood, with Shiprock, and then down to and the name just left me this place, but it's just a phenomenal rock outcroppings there, down to White Sands National Park, which is beyond cool. And I love buildings. The old buildings. This was somewhere in downtown Tennessee, or excuse me, in Nashville. Just phenomenal architecture and the stories that can be told from that. Back to Colorado, I love the high country. We get some of the beautiful storms that roll in. The great sand dunes here in Colorado, just different stories that can be told in those dunes. Of course, the aspen, can't forget the aspens. And then up in Alaska, we managed to find this beautiful character just sitting all by itself off on a side road. You can see that they've used an old stick to prop up the hood. And it's who knows how long it's been sitting there. Into Washington, near the Palouse, in the backcountry with the waterfalls, more waterfalls in Colorado. So you can see the variety that I like to photograph, but it's pretty much water and snow and mountains, into Punch Bowl Falls in Oregon. This is down in Death Valley, more Death Valley. The lovely, and I mean, this dunes I find to be very intricate and very sensual, if you will, in the shapes. Just some conceptual pieces. This was done in Alaska. Of course, a lot of us will recognize this over in Utah. Out on the eastern coast, love the textures there. We found that little stretch of white rock running through the really dark rock up to the lighthouse. Thor's Well out off the Oregon coast. White Sands again. This is just right here in my backyard, Mount Garfield, out on the western slope of Colorado. The storms rolling out there, the clouds, everything just amazing. Of course, the Tetons, Mount Moran. Can't get better than an aspen grove in Colorado. Back to the Tetons, back up to the high country in Colorado. Of course, some of you might recognize this lovely. This was the sun had already set, so this is a long exposure. In Yosemite, just some beautiful lightning in the middle of Kansas. Oh, I don't know what these guys are doing, but one of my favorite little things that everybody gets grossed out is the creepy baby dolls I see all over the country. So we'll skip on past that one because I know a lot of people get scared at that. Let me just jump into my little program here real fast and So what I've done here is kind of put together kind of my philosophy and thoughts and some ideas on how to get just really how to put your work together. And stuff that you can really, I think, use for any type of photography. We're talking about the landscape today. Ansel Adams, of course, you guys have all heard that name, one of my favorites. My dad turned me on to him years ago, and this was his famous a description of, if you will, of his life. You don't make a photograph with just a camera and so on. It talks about how he, from the books you read and the music you've heard. So my dad and I were very big fans of Ansel Adams, and he was always making sure I learned the techniques and such of black and white and large format cameras and such. And then I lost my dad several years ago, who was my big inspiration. And it was amazing within a few hours after losing him, I got an email from the Ansel Adams gallery with that quote in there. Of all the quotes that Ansel Adams, that showed up right away. I mean, talk about messages from beyond, right? But I looked at that and I thought, okay, I need to change this for myself. So here's what I came up. This is me. You can see that there, right? You don't make a life from just one moment in time. You bring to the act of living all the places you've seen, the knowledge you've gained, the inspiration you've experienced, and the people you have loved. I mean, that speaks from my heart to everybody, but that's kind of how I look at this whole the world of photography and such. And like any business, any type of a job or any type of path in life, I think we have to have our own path that we create as we go through it. And I've kind of created, and this is something I think everybody should do, no matter what type of work they're in, no matter what type of photography or art they're in, is to have their own artistic path, if you will, that I think generates, it keeps you going, is what it's about. It's keeping you reminding yourself on those days when you can't get out of bed, or your coffee isn't any good or whatever. It just reminds you that, oh yeah, I have a purpose here. And it's kind of that sort of thing. And it is, again, it's a mindset. It's something that you have to train yourself, but it gives you the opportunity to really just kind of design a path as you go along and in your photographic creative process. So here's, and it really is combining, as I was mentioning earlier, it combines your visions and your emotions and your talents, but it gives you this intangible concept, if you will, to create this tangible, finished art piece that we all try and do. Instead of just taking a picture, putting it on the wall, we've got some feeling, something, and this, believe me, sells. And I don't care if you're selling portraits of children or brides or waterfalls or flowers, it's the same concept. So you create your own statement and your own artist path in a sense. In a sense, it is a mission statement, but it's not just a bunch of fancy words. I did use some fancy words in it, you'll see, but it's about this path. And again, it's cyclical, if you will. And here's the actual statement. I'll read this to you. Inspiration seduces passion that craves knowledge, that embodies technology, which elevates inspiration and deepens passion. I know that's kind of big and fluffy, but it works for me. But let me just break it down and show you what I meant. This first part of it here, inspiration seduces passion. And you think about the things that you're passionate about, which are they're not random in your life. You understand, if you're paying attention, right, your calling, that you know what makes you passionate. So it draws you to that. Photography for me, landscape photography, fine art photography, that's my passion, and I'm drawn to that. And because of that passion, I need to have knowledge to fulfill that passion. So I'm already drawn to it, and I have that passion, but learning that knowledge to do it and do it better. And I love this phrase here, when I walk with two others, from at least one I will be able to learn. And I mean, that's so true if you just think about your situations in life. But that passion needs that knowledge. So you're going to feed that passion with more information. And of course, the knowledge is going to take on that technology. Nowadays, it's all computer generated and all that kind of thing. But we need to learn that. We need to not be afraid of it. And what I think is cool about that, and I love this line here, and this is kind of a twist on another saying you've heard, but you can lead a human to knowledge, you can't make them learn it. And if you think about how many people you know that, oh, I know all this, but they really don't. And again, this isn't about a comparison thing, but it's about just knowing that it's there for you and it's easy to learn. And then the end of my statement takes us right back to the beginning. It elevates my inspiration even further, which deepens my passion, which makes me go back out. And, so again, we must act out our passion before we can feel it, because the passion is your authentic self. And if any of you following what is your life and what it is in your life, this is basically what this is your authentic self. And this is kind of my path, my quote, if you will. Here it is. Whoops. I guess I didn't pull up again. Sorry. But it's that my little remembrance of what it is that I'm doing here. And it's just that little inspiration, kind of like you hang it on the mirror when you get up in the morning, and there it is. It's kind of like, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing today. So let me just kind of explore some of the components here of that path. So we have inspiration, passion, technology, and knowledge. And you break it down like that. I hated doing this because it kind of makes it too scientific. It makes it too real, right?
It's the magic
we
formula.
want to be able, yeah, it is. So it's supportive. So I want to keep it up here. I want to keep it here, but it also, but it's something that to be able to explain to you. So what inspires you? It's things like this that inspire all of us, some more than others, but these are the things that create your inspiration for creating your art, whether you're doing portraits, whether you're doing the landscape, whether you're photographing surgeries. I did that too. And the passion, of course, come from many different areas. It doesn't have to be one area. It can be from your family. It can be a constructive thing, of course. And for me, it's more of a spiritual thing, not religious, but spiritual. I go to church every day, but my church is up in the mountains at 14,000 feet elevation. That's my spiritual experience in this industry. And of course, the technology, that can be learned from many different places. And I not only challenge you to explore those areas, but I challenge you to use them. And I probably should add, workshops and seminars are in there. Since we're getting back together again as groups, please do that. We've gotten comfortable sitting, and I'm glad you've jumped in tonight to listen to this, but please go to your state associations and go to your meetings and be a part of it, because that's 50% of the learning right there. And of course, the knowledge is, many different areas. Street smarts, which I think are, just getting out there and doing it. Of course, book smarts, and you need to combine those. But it's how do you do best? Now, the middle one there is how I learn best, fly by the seat of my pants. I've got the knowledge. I've read it. I've learned it. But I'm going to go out there. And my mom and dad used to always accuse me of, they'd tell me, go straight down the street. And guess where I would go? Back and forth, curb to curb, house to house. That was my path. I'll drive back from Denver to Chicago to visit family, and it's not a straight line on I-70. Well, it is, but I don't go that way. I go from farm to farm and from village to village. And that's what it's all about, my friends, is to pick up that knowledge. So here's the artist's path again. The inspiration seduces passion, that craves knowledge, that embodies technology, which elevates inspiration and deepens passion. You can see it's this loop I've created, which it really works.
It's got a nice.
So, well, thank you. That's kind of what, again, it was kind of looking for something that I could easily remember and easily repeat. And it's just so do something like that for yourself, guys. I challenge you to go out there. And I love this little quote here I've found. So you don't always need that plan, but something like this artist's path, this statement helps you, reminds you to breathe and to trust and to go see what happens. Just go out there and see what happens. So let's get into the scene real quick here. As I mentioned, how I actually go out and create using this mentality of this artist statement, if you will, to drive me to go out into creating the art that I do. And a lot of it is to clear your mind. So I'm going to this scene or going to wherever I'm going to photograph. A lot of it is just that voice, the voice, I'm talking about, right? The one that tells you to don't forget to pick up the laundry or pick up the kids and all those things, wherever you are in your life. Get that out of there. Just clear that out. So meditation helps, concentrating and focusing. The music helps. Inspiration and motivational. To me, music is huge. It's always been. Again, I think I got a lot of it from my dad. He was a big jazz fan. He loved Herb Alpert and that kind of music. And for me, it's been, of course, rock and roll in the 70s was what I grew up on. But jazz and blues are what really inspire me to just open up and forget about the crap that's happening every day, and to go out and look at things in just a very childlike, natural kind of way, so that you're not, pulled down by all the things we should do or shouldn't do. And what I like to do is I like to walk into the scene. I pull up wherever I am, whether it's me or a group. When I bring my workshops to places, we get out of the car and everybody starts getting their stuff. And I'm like, nope, put your bag back in the car. We're going to walk in there for a little bit. Obviously, it's not a 3-mile walk if it's just right here, but bring your phone, bring your cell phone, and we're going to walk in there, because the difference is we've been in the car. We've got the music, the conversation, the traveling, the motion, all these mechanical things of everyday life going. And I want to put us into this environment where all of a sudden, when you stand there for a few minutes, you don't just see a wooded area, but you start seeing where the lights, how it's wrapping around the trees and how the leaves are falling to the ground. You start smelling the aroma of the rotting leaves, or see the fresh flowers and how they're growing and how the patterns that they're growing in and the color harmony throughout. And these are the things that I think really inspire to get into the mold of that. So again, leave your photo gear in the car and bring your cell phone. And people kind of laugh because, oh, a cell phone, you can't bring that. I used to tell people not to bring their cell phones on workshops, but okay, it's all right. Because what I'll do, we get out of the car, and the first question I can almost promise you, and it's not just one person will be happy, what lens should I bring? Well, to me, that's almost, I don't want to laugh at anybody, but it's almost kind of comical, because that shows me they're not quite in the right frame of mind, because I want you to develop the scene. I want you to conjure up this new photograph from what you see, not because of the lens that you have. So if you insist on carrying a certain lens into a scene before you've seen the lens, you're really narrowing down what it is that you can create, what it is that your spirit or your soul or your artistic talents can possibly see, because you're now kind of conceiving this, oh yeah, I got to do this wide angle because there's mountains, or I got to do this narrow thing because of this. So walking into the woods or wherever we are without your gear allows you to see the scenes. Again, I'll maybe see a scene, I'll grab a snap with my phone just so I can go back to the car and remember what I've done. Then I'll grab the gear that's appropriate for that capture. So that's kind of how I work really in anything. I did that back in portraiture. My dad kind of taught me that too. Yeah, there's some certain lenses we use for certain situations, but I'll tell you, one of the funnest workshops we did a few years ago is we had several people, and we had three brides and grooms, and we were in the church. And the first part of it is I would take somebody, grab their camera, and then say, you want the bride or the bride and the groom, or what do you want? And then I'd send them into the men's room and I'd tell them to make a portrait without getting the obvious things in there. And you talk about the stuff that people came up with was unbelievable, beautiful stuff with just the textures and the window light, and not the urinals and not the stalls, and but it was just that kind of challenge. So that's kind of what it's all about. So that's kind of where we're going. So what makes good photography? Well, the connection with the subject, and I think to me, this is my gospel right here, if you will. And the last one is seeing the soul of the subject. And that's what we're trying to do, is to go out and not have this preconceived notion of, I have to use this lens or this exposure or whatever. Go stand there and look at it and see what works in your mind. What do you see first? What caught your eye? Is it one flower? Is it a whole wall of stone? Is it a whole mountain scene? And then work your composition around that. What elements are going to fill in to tell that story, create the depth, and then I figure out my equipment from there. So I don't know if you guys know of Juliana Gaspadaro. I want to say if she's English or over in that part of the world, but beautiful, long exposure, black and white photography. And she says this, and I absolutely love this, that fine art photography is the expression of the imagination and the will of the artist. Can't be any more simple than that, right? And there's no one else in this world who's going to think and feel like you do. So there's no other purpose of the art than to express your inner world. So when you create something, it's your responsibility, if you will, to share your view, your beliefs. Go back to the statement that Ansel Adams made about our life is built around the books and the movies and the people, and the one I shared about the love and the inspirations of life. And this is how we create imagery. And again, I don't care if you're talking about photographing a landscape or a baby or a wedding, or it's the same principle. It's what's going to make those images go to the next level. Now, the challenge here, and I get a kick out of this, is when you get a new photographer and they take their camera and they photograph the scene exactly as they see it. They've got here's the trees, and here's the cars, and here's the cigarette butts on the sidewalk, and it's exactly as they see it, which is fine. But our job, if you will, as an artist is to move away from that objective reality. And the further away you get from that, I think, is where the art comes in, where your style happens, where you start pushing out your beliefs of things. So your objective, if I may throw this at you, is to look at what your objective reality is. In other words, when you see someone, you point the camera and you take a picture. Okay, yeah, duh. That's why when I take people on trips and they want to go to the obvious places, and I've been there, we've all been there, the Tetons and so on like that. When you can open the car door and step out and grab a shot, and it'll be beautiful, I can guarantee you, but that's not what we're talking about. That's the objective reality right there. I want you to walk away from that. I want you to change the lens. I want you to get down on your face on the ground and shoot up. I want you to climb on a rock and shoot down, and all these kind of things. And other things that will help you do that is to look at this list here just to give you some ideas. As a photographer, you guys understand this already, but pre-visualization, we're going to hit that in a second, but looking at black and white, long exposure images where you've got water movement, soft movement, conceptual and composite images. And of course, photojournalism to me is just so sweet because you're telling stories, but you're telling it from your point of view. No matter who it is or what the story might be, it depends on what lens you use and your perspective and how far away you are, things like that. The pre-visualization is a wonderful tool that Ansel Adams preached about, where you actually are looking at the scene as you're standing there to photograph it, but you're seeing it in your mind, hanging on the wall, totally finished. That's going to drive your passion. That's going to drive your desires. Now, here's a quote. I have to work this out for you here a little bit because Dwayne Michaels, look him up. He did some beautiful portraiture back in the, I'm going to say 60s and 70s. And I know you've seen it all because it kind of started with, nowadays you can't miss a picture online where somebody got their head thrown back and they're laughing. Well, this is kind of where this came from. He would photograph twins or triplets or a dad and two kids, and it would be the first just somber, looking right at the camera, and then the next picture he would have them laughing or looking up and open mouth, hysterical laughing. And that's kind of what this came from. Anyways, what he says here, I'm going to read this to you because I need to break it down a little bit. Photographers tend not to photograph what they can't see, which is the very reason one should attempt it, which is the objective reality I just talked about, where it's too easy to walk up, photograph it, and think we've got it. Our goal, our challenge is to, because all we're doing is just going in and creating a copy of what's already there. So our goal, what he says here, it has to transcend description. It has to go beyond description to bring insight to the subject or reveal the subject, not as it looks, but how does it feel? Man, I got goosebumps when I talk about that one. Just keep that one in mind because that one's huge right there. Pre-visualization I talked about. Quickly, again, it's just going in and standing at your scene. And I don't care if you're photographing a baby or a bride or that beautiful mountain scene, waterfall. It's to see the finished image done, hanging on the wall, ready to be sold or enjoyed in a museum. And that's what this is all about. It's that first step towards creating that part. And everybody has their own visualization, but that helps determine the direction that you're going to go. So there's 10 important things I like to think about when I'm photographing. Of course, composition. I love when you get a newcomer and they say, oh, I don't bother with composition. Well, I love that because Ed Weston has this great comment about when you consult the rule of composition before taking a photograph, it's like consulting the laws of gravity. So think about this tomorrow morning. Get up, walk out your front door and decide, I'm not going to bother with gravity today and see what happens. Composition is the same thing. It still happens. So you've got to learn it. You've got to come up with an idea of how to use it in your photography. So be an expert of your style and your processing and try and be different and slow down. Man, there's nothing worse than when we're out there at this beautiful scene and somebody's got their camera with no tripod, and that bothers me. We'll get to that in a minute. And all you hear is bang, 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 bang. Well, all I can think of is when they go home, now they have 47 images of one waterfall, and now they have to sit there and figure out which one's the best one to process. Slow down and practice. And you think about what a lot of studios do is they open for business, they take appointments, they take weddings, and they go out and photograph their clients. That's their practice. That scares the crap out of me. We used to do it too, but hire somebody, bring in a model, shoot some stuff, go out and photograph and get good at practice, because I want you to be able to be in the situation and have to determine an exposure without even looking at the camera. I want you to be able to turn dials and know that you've just opened up a stop, because the minute that piece of metal comes in between you and the subject you've lost, and I'm talking about a bride or I'm talking about a waterfall, because you've connected with nature and now you've got this equipment in front of you. Yeah, we need to think through, but if you know the equipment so well that all you got to do is, oh yeah, I know I want the slow shutter, I needed this, boom, boom, and you don't have to think about it. You stay connected with that. And by gosh sakes, print your work, my God. Guys, print it. There's nothing better. And I'm not talking 8x10s. I'm talking 30x40s. Print out some stuff. And because the screen, you can buy a big screen, doesn't matter. Print it out. I can get closer. Print it out.
Yeah, it comes to life when you get it in physical format, in
Doesn't
your
it?
hands. You see things you've never seen before.
Well, and I like to say, how many of you out there are printing your stuff? I don't mean for clients. I mean, whatever you do for yourself, are you printing it? I mean, think about that. Is anybody out there printing stuff, whether you're just printing a few small prints?
Yeah, put it into chat. If you're printing, let us know.
Yeah, please do, because I'd love to know what's happening, because it's just such a part of this whole industry that's lost. Yeah, we still make some prints, but everything's digital. Man, make some prints. And get critiques. You know, that's scary. I know we have this in the PPA competitions and such, but you got to have you're going to wear your emotions on your arm, but you have to have, that leather hat on, because there's going to be some people who can't quite deliver descriptions and deliver critiques very well. I sure can. If you need some help, please let me help you out. But by all means, it's a very, very important thing, because I can tell you that I've got a lot of really dear friends in this PPA world who are all successful at entering prints and competition, running businesses and whatever. And I'll send an image to one of my buddies and I'll say, just give me a quick rundown of what, and I think I've done a pretty good job on it, right? I'm ready to get that high score. And they send me back this punch list of all the things I've missed. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And do that with your everyday work too. And don't rely on your gear and your stuff. You got to get it up here. You got to get it right in here in order to do it. And like I said, be selfish, create stuff for yourself. Let's see. So
we're getting lots of people that are responding. Good majority of the crowd is printing right now. A few of them are not, but I think after this, they're seeing that like, all right, I got to get printing.
Well, it's kind of, I'll step off onto my soapbox for a moment, but we look at what's happening and we look, oh my God, I don't want to spend that kind of money on a print and whatever. And then they go out and buy a printer and they buy ink, and you're spending way more money doing that, just in case you don't know that. Find a lab, stick with them, get in with a rep, send them some samples, have them make some sample prints for you. I'm doing a commercial for ACI here, but this is what we used to do. But by all means, have the lab know what you like. So when you send them that file and they make it, I have a lab that I use for some large stuff that's right here local for me. Oh my gosh, I'll send them a good file thinking this is gonna be cool. It comes back even better than that. How cool is that? So how many of you are taking your fine art, because I know we all love to do it, and are sending it off to a lab to have a print for the living room? How many of you guys are doing that? That's cool. So real quick, I want to just say, I'm kind of going to go over just a recap of what I've been talking about here. So this is my steps for creating that awesome fine art imagery. Again, enter your shooting area without your camera. And like I say, try it on. See what you see before you get your gear out. Pre-visualize, find your scene, figure out in your mind, oh yeah, this is what I think I want to do with it. I'll tell you what's a lot more fun too. You'll sit down at your computer and be a lot quicker at your imagery, finishing it, when you have something pre-visualized. And certainly learn composition, guys. There's many, many, many tools. It's hard to find a complete list online. You'll find 10 here, 10 here, whatever, but learn several of them and get to know that sort of thing. Oh, we're going to use a tripod. Enough said. Use your damn tripods, please. Determine your exposure and make the exposure and examine your histogram. And these are simple things. We all know this, but I am so amazed at how many people I see in my workshops that don't do these 3 steps. Handheld with, 15-second exposures, and then they can't figure out why they can't make it 30x40. There's why. Make sure your exposure is right on, and use your histogram to determine that. Do not, I'll say it one more time, do not use your monitor in the back of the camera to determine if it's a good image or not. Use that only for sharpness. Use your histogram to determine if you got it, and then move on. Do not shoot another one. I think I've said that a few times. Change your camera angle. Do something else. And don't shoot 9 of them. Please do yourself a favor. And again, the whole idea is you get so confident in your gear that it just becomes your right hand or left hand, whichever way you are. So this, I think, is very great comment from a Jonathan Swift. The vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. It goes along with this whole theme here, and it's creating that vision that you feel, that you see, that's different. And that's what I think makes a lot of people phenomenal in their work. Just go ahead and read this little paragraph here, because I think this really specifically talks about be brave, be confident. What you know, what you create, you're the only one that has created or can create that type of style of images. So be brave and do that. So I want to challenge you with a little bit of a, share this with you here. This is a little exercise, and it's just for fun, but this is a tremendous, tremendous exercise for any time. But especially if you're getting hung up and I can't be creative, I can't find something, whatever. So all you're going to do is find a scene. I don't care if it's a building, if it's a park, if it's in your living room, go to the library. I mean, just find a scene and take whatever lens you want and photograph it. That's your first frame. So you're kind of defining your boundaries of this exercise. Then I want you to walk into that scene and make 30 more images inside that scene. And I don't mean walk into the scene and shoot back out. I want you to walk into the scene and shoot. So if you've photographed the outside of a building, I want you to walk into the scene and now photograph the window hinges and the door handles and the brick and the texture. I mean, photograph those things. And what it does is it gets you past the obvious. When I was years ago, I went to the Art Institute and I had a class on typography, and the teacher said, I want you to do this tonight. Go home and make some, take your initials and make a logo. And I want you to do 150 of them. And everybody's like, wow. Okay, no problem. So you get going, and we can use, Illustrator or Photoshop, whatever, but in different colors, but not different things. So it's just, logos of your image, of your initials. So you get about 50, 60 of them. And then all of a sudden you start going, oh, I can't see any more obvious. Well, I can do this. Okay, whatever. And then you hit about 70 and you're ready to quit. You got nothing. You're only halfway there. And then all of a sudden something happens. You start seeing things differently. And the key, she said, is to quit at 150. And we're all thinking, are we ever going to get to 150? But she wants us to make sure we stop there. And you start rolling. Same with this kind of a thing, is to get into this scene. So when you're done, you've shot these 30 frames, 31 actually. I want you to process them the way you normally would, the way you like, and then line them up in your Lightroom or however you want to view them in chronological order, and see where you've gone through this, starting with the big scene of the wall, whatever, and then see how you've gone with composition, with storytelling, and compare from one to the other. Great exercise to do if you ever get stuck or you're just looking for something to do. And I have a whole bunch of other exercises I'm glad to share with you someday. But just study them, and it's amazing at what it'll tell, and it helps to create your style and be proud of that. And I'm done chatting.
That's a lot of information.
I've said enough. So, questions, thoughts, comments?
Yeah, so we do have a few questions, and if you do have questions about anything landscape related, put them into chat right now. So we're going to dive in. So first question, with your images, they are stunning, like absolutely beautiful. I'm sure you do dodging and burning. Well, burn the hell out of them. Do you do a majority of your dodging and burning with luminosity masking?
You know what? I've actually kind of, well, I shouldn't say I've created it, but I use a technique in Photoshop just using a curves layer. I can do either burning or dodging. And it's kind of really based on all the 20 some years I stood in the darkroom doing, and those of you who've done that, we have the enlarger and you have the print, and you would make holes with your hand, or you take pieces of cardboard and put holes in it. So that kind of concept is how I've created using a brush. I'd have to show you how to do it, but that's pretty much, and I'll have 30, 40 burning and or dodging layers on one image of different areas to bring out what I want you to see as the viewer, and so on. So yes, I use that stuff a lot, but I do it in Photoshop.
Okay. Next question. Do you feel lost when you're unable to shoot?
It's funny. I remember that feeling. I can't say that I do anymore. I mean, 45 years of doing this, I do have my path. I do have my direction. And I rely on that to be able to come up with something. Even when I feel stalled, I guess is the word I'll use, one of these exercises, and I have a bunch of others that I use just to kind of get me back in the scene. But I don't ever feel lost anymore. I remember feeling lost for years, though. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Next question. You stated that your piece is at 14,000 feet up. What sort of images do you walk away with when you're feeling anxious or angry or frustrated?
So, using emotions is a tremendous positive. Um, we've all gone through, I mean, we all had bad times in our life. I went through bad marriage and had a really horrible, and I will tell you that I came up with some of the most intriguing, very dark and heavy imagery then. So it's being able to tie into your emotions, whatever they may be, to create. I wouldn't go to a wedding with that kind of a feeling, because who knows what you'll create, but it might be interesting. But absolutely being able, and musicians do this all the time, to tie into your feelings. And there's times when I maybe just melancholy and nothing's happening, that I'll bring up a story or bring up something from the past to either be happy and go shoot, or get PO'd and go out and shoot. So you got to work with your emotions and let them work for you. Definitely.
Cool. I've got one more question, and then we're going to give away some prizes and stuff.
Cool.
But this one, while shooting landscapes, I'm sure you've done some stupid things to get a shot, but what's the most brave thing that you've done in order to get the shot?
I promised I wouldn't tell.
Oh. We're not asking for the
Golly
stupid. We're asking
sakes,
for the
guys.
brave.
When you're younger, a lot more things are, yeah, I'll stand on the edge. I'll hang off this edge. I had to do a job actually it was for a company in Chicago when I was living back in Illinois, and to get out on, and I forget which building it was, but we were up 30, 40 floors on the window washing thing. And I don't know, again, young minds, you always want, okay, well, here's where I am. I need to be up here. And we would raise it. It wasn't quite right. So I actually got on the end of it and climbed up on the rail. It's about a 4-foot high rail. And I actually climbed up on the rail and had my arm wrapped around the rope, 30 some floors up, just so I could get a little higher elevation than standing in the 4 feet down. And when I think about it now, I'm like, what the? So,
Was it worth it?
but I always say that I've got, when I finally go, I'll be under a tree up on a mountaintop in Colorado. So just somebody come and get the memory card out of the camera, because the images will be worth something then. So,
And I lied. We've got 2 more questions, and a lot of people are
cool.
upvoting them. So we're going to
Cool.
answer those or ask those ones before we give away the prizes.
Thank you. Yeah.
So what do you miss most about the film days?
It's funny. I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. The quality of film was very personal, and a lot of it came because you can process computer generate digital images differently. There's something totally different about the whole process of processing film when it comes down to the temperature of the developer and all those kind of things, and the length of time, and then going into the darkroom and printing it. There's a whole different, I don't even know, those of you who have been in the darkroom can know what I'm talking about. But I will tell you how much more cool stuff you can do in digital. I don't know if that I would trade and go back. I have my Hasselblad cameras and my 4x5s, and I keep looking at, maybe I should shoot it, but I just gave all my film to Pete Rizak, so I don't think I'll be doing that.
Okay.
Since he's still doing it.
Next question. What exercises do you do to see the light?
So I actually, probably the best exercise, and I do this in my workshops, is to hand out a ping pong ball. Get yourself a ping pong ball. Golf ball would work, but even the divots kind of help make it harder. So just get a ping pong ball, and I don't care what the light is outside. You hold that up in front of you, you will see immediately where the light's coming from, especially if it's really soft. Honestly, that's pretty much what taught me. My dad handed me a ping pong ball, and I thought he was kidding, because I used to beat him all the time in ping pong at the house. So I don't know what he was trying to do there, but it's a phenomenal tool just to carry around, and they're cheap if you crush it and you get another one. That's the best way to see the light. And from that day on, I don't think I've ever looked at anything and not seen the light. And I'm talking about sitting in a restaurant, glancing up from my menu, looking across the street. I'll immediately, the light's coming from over there. Look at the glow, or look at the reflection. Yeah. So doesn't matter what it is. I'm seeing the light. And that's my moniker has been that in all my signatures is see the light, keep seeing the light.
Kind of
Um,
a cool bit of trivia, but in like 3D compositing for like movies, doing the special effects stuff or green screen things, they've got a ball that's essentially a large ping pong ball
sure.
where they can see the quality of light and the color of light and the shape of it so that they can
Yeah,
make sure that they're matching that on their subjects, but they get a little bit of recording that's going on there. So it's
yeah,
a tried and true
absolutely.
technique.
Yeah, it really is. And I just kind of stumbled on it and Dad told me about it. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But I have heard that they do that in the movie industry. And so we must be onto something, huh?
Right. So we're going to give away some prizes. We've got some more questions that are coming in. So if you do have a question,
Cool.
put it into chat now. That way we can answer them before we part ways. But do want to again say thank you to American Color Imaging, and they do have a special going on now. You can get 25% off of metal prints. So if you're thinking about getting some stuff printed up, especially black and whites, I love metal prints for doing that. The code is on the screen right now. That's good until August 8th. I'll also email you that code out too, so just in case you don't have a pen handy, you can get that. Do also want to let you know that registration is live for our next program about passion projects with Justin Tedford. So make sure that you're registering for that one so we can see about how you can embrace passion projects in your photography business. And if you've got ideas for future episodes, guests that you'd like to see, that sort of thing, shoot me an email. This is how we come up with what the content is, what our subjects are. So if you've got ideas, make sure you're emailing me. This is a two-way communication here. All right, so now for some prizes, because those are kind of fun. So up first, we've got a $50 lab credit to American Color Imaging. So let's see who that is. We've got our official wheel of names coming up here, and we'll see who gets our first one. I love this thing. It's so much fun.
Well, you need the sound effect. I can't hear
Oh,
that.
there actually is a sound effect. That one's muted for
Oh,
you.
cool. Oh,
That
darn.
way
That's
I don't end up piping back your own voice back to you. So Carolyn won this one. So congrats to Carolyn on that. And up next, we've got a $75 lab credit. And let's see who's going with this one. Hey, Michael, you've got it. All right. And now we've got a $100 lab credit. We just keep getting better and better. And let's see who's got this one. Rod. That was fantastic and pretty exciting. So, Jeff, earlier we were talking and you had mentioned that you do like road trips and guided tours and things like that. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, first of all, check it out, soulroadtrips.com, SOUL roadtrips.com. We do all kinds of cool things. And they're all designed really to bring us together. Yes, educational. I don't care what level of photography you're at. I don't care. I have a lot of portrait artists that come, a lot of landscape folks. It's just about bringing the concept together and just having some fun. The trips are 4 days. We go to the sand dunes here in Colorado. We go to White Sands in New Mexico. We go to Moab and investigate canyonlands and arches. Next year, we'll be going to Yosemite. We'll be coming out to visit the Columbia River Gorge. We're going to go and visit Chris in the Olympic National Park along the seaboard out there. And I just spent 5 weeks out there with those guys, and oh my gosh, phenomenal stuff to shoot. We do all kinds of other things. We have my favorite is my Alaskan trip. That's a 10-day trip in Alaska. That's coming up in August. We have a 10-day fall tour in New England, which, what more can I say? That's cool. Next year, we're introducing, we're going to be going to Tromsø, Norway, and in the winter. And I know it's cold, but you got gloves, so just shut up and come. Northern Lights, snow on the mountains, the red buildings of Tromsø. It's going to be phenomenal. We're going to the Faroe Islands in August of next year, which is, if you've not ever seen what that's all about, we're going to be introducing Iceland, Scotland, and Greenland in the future. just opportunities to bring like-minded folks together and just really explore, because bringing groups of people together, we get a lot of, you make friends for life. You learn stuff from folks that, maybe has a hint in a project here that they've done that can share something with you. You get a chance to photograph something different. You come home with some really beautiful images, once in a lifetime trips. Just phenomenal stuff. Plus, I also offer a lot of one-on-one online, whether we want to do Zoom or in person, to help you specifically about a topic or in generally about, something that you're interested in doing. I'll be glad to work with you that way, and so on. So it's just kind of been my life passion to give back. And I've got, let's see, I just turned 64, so I've got 36 more years of teaching before I decide to retire. You got plenty of time, but I wouldn't wait too long. I've had some rough.
I can vouch. Jeff is a phenomenal instructor. He's very friendly. He kind of meets you with where you're at and helps guide you. If you're very experienced, he can show you some interesting viewpoints or something to consider, or give you a different frame of reference for it. And if you're just starting out, he can help you with your guides, your settings, making sure that you're getting the fundamentals down and kind of how to see that world. So I've got to see him in action and actually be a student of his as well. So it's way worth it. It's way worth it.
Cool.
So
Thanks.
We were chatting before, and you mentioned that you might have a grand prize for us today.
Yeah, I would love to offer a $250 gift certificate to one of my road trips, and that would be good for the rest of any of the road trips this year, or for 2000. We would have come up to 23 already, so next year as well.
We're living in the future.
To knock $250 off of one of those major road trips. So Chris is going to.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do the wheel and see who's getting that one. Everybody's been like, "Oh man, I shouldn't have got that $50 one." No.
Well, call me. We can work something out.
And it is Pam. So Jeff, I'll get you connected with Pam that we can get her information on redeeming that, because that was very generous of you. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome, Pam. We can chat when you have a moment and talk to you about the trips, and go to soulroadtrips.com and get an idea what we're doing and see how we can make that happen for you. So
I've got a couple of last minute questions before we go.
Oh, absolutely. Do it.
So from Cheryl, do you photograph something every day?
No, I don't. It depends. I go in spurts. When I'm on a trip, I might do my 4-day trip, depending on which one. And I may stick around for a couple more days. During a trip, I'm instructing, so I may stay for myself. And then I may go from place to place. I just did a 5-week jaunt through California and Oregon and Washington. So yeah, I was shooting every day. Since then, the last 2 or 3 weeks, I haven't shot really much at all. So it just kind of goes in spurts. The camera's sitting right here, right next to me all the time. And
it's ready to go.
Yeah. So it's right there reminding me, hey, don't forget about me.
All right. Next question from Carolyn. Where do you show your work at?
I've done a lot of different things. That's a whole seminar in itself. I did the gallery thing for a while. I did different galleries, different shows. I used to do the craft fairs, which that's a whole lifestyle that, wow, if you haven't done that, you're in for it's fun, but man, it's challenging. But mostly I've got a lot of clients who just know my work, and I'll put up, and I'm actually working on building a new website, new ways to purchase, and maybe even the different daily posts with new images or weekly or something. I don't know. I'm working on all kinds of different things like that. So, but my favorite is to go into and find a new coffee shop down the street. And I said, well, you're going to have some walls in here. You need art. And, really? So there's different things you can say. I'm going to hang a print in here and put my name on it, and you don't have to pay for it. And if it sells, great. If it sells, I'll give you 5% of the sale. Oh yeah, let's do that. Or many times they'll just say, well, what if I want to buy 3 or 4 of them for my own? Sure, that's great. So it's just still a lot of legwork, still a lot of who you know. I haven't done art shows much anymore because honestly, I got a lot of pieces in the basement. It's great. You get a gallery says, yeah, you can put 20 pieces up and you sell 3 or 4 of them, and that's great. and then you have 15 of them that didn't sell, and you don't have another art show lined up, and then hauling them around, they get nicked. And I'm actually building a page on my website of, in a sense, a garage sale, if you will. So watch for that.
All right, last question from Janice. Is there something or some place that you would love to photograph that you haven't done yet?
Wow. Well,
These
I
are
think,
good questions, huh?
well, I've been around. I mean, I've been to 49 of the states over and over and over again. I haven't been to Hawaii, so I'll get there. I've gone back many times to many places. Colorado's still going to be home because there's beautiful places here. We're doing some of the extended trips next year, like I mentioned, in Norway and the Faroe Islands. There's one trip that I'm putting together that I think is probably right now the ultimate. If you've heard of the Red Sails, there's a company that has two schooners, two clipper ships with red sails, and you live on the ships for 5 days, but they go different places, but usually in between Iceland and Greenland, and they'll drop you off on a glacier or an ice floe, and then you can photograph with the midnight sun, or the midnight sun, photograph these red clipper ships with these icebergs. I mean, that's to me probably the ultimate that I'm going to do. I'll do that next year. I'll let you guys know. We'll put it together. We can all go. But I mean, the list is long. What do I have to do? I have to create images that I love. That's what I have to do, no matter where I am.
So any parting thoughts for us before we head out?
Wow. Depending on, well, regardless of what type of work you do, whether you're doing portraiture or you're doing weddings or kids or doing a landscape, do it for yourself. Obviously, the clients are hiring you and they'll have their ideas. And I don't know, thanks to the internet or damn the internet, they come in with their own ideas. They come in with their own little snapshots of what you want. Great, do that. Make them happy. But do not, and I'm going to point the finger at you.
Point it away.
Do not do something for yourself. Do not, even if it's a session that you didn't even want to shoot in the first place, turn it into shoot 5 frames of something you want to do with that client. That is the biggest inspiration for no matter what you're doing. Do it for yourself. Do it for yourself.
That's
I'll say
great
it again.
advice.
Do
That
it
needs
for
to be up
yourself.
on your slide again.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
For everybody that's watching, I'm going to shoot you a follow-up email that has all of his links, including to his website and his gallery page, and the link to sign up for his mailing list so he can email you out that ultimate checklist, because that's chocked full of great information. And lets you kind of stay in touch with Jeff as well. So thank you again, and thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. This has been a fun episode, and we'll see you next time.